Okay, a little bit of a shorter one for this third part. This is all about the nose, and the big learning that you're going to get here is all about the anatomy of the cartilage, and the cartilage drives most of the shape of the nose. So there's less about muscles and much more about the cartilage. So we'll dive right in and we'll build ourselves a nose. So we're on to the nose now. So we've covered off the basic shapes of the head, and obviously look back at those videos if you feel that there's any of this that's missing, that you haven't done enough of. So for example, you know, if you feel like you want to look at the Loomis method for scaling, go back to video 1. If you want to look at the lips, go back to video 2. So this is, I'm actually showing you a head that this is what the head will look like by the end of this video. But I wanted to just show you because I want to give you a little bit of a basic anatomy of the nose, just to give you a good understanding of where we're going and how we're going to do this. So let's start actually with the skull. So I'm going to turn off this layer, and we want to just focus on the skull. So the main bit that we're focusing on is obviously the nose, and we're going to be the big thing that to realize with the nose is at the top where the brow comes down and then it starts to come out here. You can see that is what forms the first part of the nose. So when you start looking at people, so obviously if this is a male, and everybody's got a very different nose. So you will have people who've got a really large nose at the top, the middle section, down the end, at the bulb, at the sides, wider nostrils. You're going to have people with deformities of the nose, a crooked nose, a bent nose. There's going to be lots of options, but if you understand what's going on underneath, so first of all, the bone structure and how the top of this bit here and the bridge here really affects the starting of the nose at the top, then you've got a good understanding. So that comes down, I'll just put the head back on now. From that bridge where that ends, you start getting into the core of the nose in terms of cartilage. So I've done it in blue here. That's the skull outlined underneath, by the way. I'll turn that off for a moment because we don't need to see that for this next bit. And then we've got the main chunks of cartilage left and right side. So you've got what we call lateral processes of the septal nasal cartilage there. So you don't need to know all this. So it's like upper cartilage and lower cartilage around here. This bit in the middle here is called the septum. And again, you've got cartilage coming around the sides here. And the yellow is actually a fatty tissue. So it's the edges of the nostrils or the nares. Where you can see blue will be cartilage, where you can see yellow is like a fatty tissue. Now, each of them, everybody has everything that I've shown there, but everybody's is different in terms of there's more, sometimes the cartilage is more pointed. I've actually got like a split in the end of my nose. Mine splits in two at the end where the cartilage seems to, you can see this central line a little bit. There's a third bit in the middle there. So again, everybody will see this differently. But if you learn these main shapes, it's very easy to construct a nose, and you can then change that as you see fit for your character. So remember, already we've got the top where the bone ends and goes into the cartilage down to another chunk of cartilage that's split into two. And then we've got the fatty tissue around the edges. So that's kind of what we're looking at, and that's kind of what we're going to construct. Now this video has got a little bit about the brow as well, but the brow has got a lot of muscle rather than cartilage, where there's no cartilage in the brow at all. So in terms of the muscle, over the top of everything I've showed you, I've just quickly sketched where some of the major muscles are going to come into play. And as you can see, as you go up the nose, there's nothing really to focus on at the top and over the brow. So that's very much driven by the bone structure coming out here to where the temple is on each side. Now, I've actually put two spheres in for eyes. Again, we've not touched the eyes yet in these videos, but I just wanted to roughly show you some paint overs of what this is going to look like. Now, if you take that away, I've just used sliders here, which is in your layers if you want to do something like that. And I'll actually hide the skeleton underneath again, the skull. and we'll hide those muscles up the sides, and that's the face we'll be left with when we've done it, perspective on and off. So we're getting quite he looks miserable, doesn't he? I think I've made him really miserable for some reason. So we now know just roughly what is constructing that shape underneath, and it's only a couple of primitive shapes. So that's exactly what we'll do now. We'll grab a couple of primitives and we'll sculpt this up from where we left off in the previous video. Okay, so this is where we left off. So let's just tidy up a few things. So we don't need our construction lines for the time being. So we'll turn all of those off. We've got some spheres in. They're literally just spheres that I've popped in. So what we'll do is we'll merge those spheres together. So I'm going to put actually the outline is on, so that's fine. So I'll leave this open for a moment. So we want the sphere, the cylinder, which is the head, and the spheres all as one. So we'll go to resolution and we'll go voxel merge and see what happens. And there you go, we've done it. So we'll just tweak those proportions and smooth it a little bit more. So I'm just going to bring that jaw in a little tiny bit because it looks a little bit too kind of thin around the sides here. And we'll just smooth him down and over that eye as well. We've got a block of a basic nose that we put in there. So what I'll do just to make it easier, I'm going to flatten that out. And in fact, no, I'm not. I'm going to trim it out. Is a good way of doing it because now we know where all of the bone comes down to around there, don't we? So if you come back round to the front, you'll see that's roughly what I was showing you on the skull. So we're starting with nothing again. Now you don't have to do that if you've already put a shape in there, but that's roughly where it is on the skull. So I'm going to add in what's going to be the cartilage at the top, the square cartilage. And actually for now we will keep it to a blue colour just so as it matches our reference from before. We'll validate it and just make it smaller. It's obviously got symmetry on and we want to keep it small, make it elongated, and then just turn it down like so. Now that's got to come out from where we remember the bone left off. So it comes from here. And you can angle that depending on, the angle isn't crucial because it is different in different people and we can change that later on. But for now, that will give us enough. If we use the trim tool at this stage and we just use line, you might be able to trim off a little bit like that to give you that pyramid kind of shape that you see. So as you can see, that's trimmed it off pretty much to a nice angle for us to use that as the nose. Now what we will do is we'll just trim that off at the bottom as well. Just bring it around here and we'll just trim it off like so, just giving us some angles to play with. Now if you use the move tool, we'll just bring that in at the top and we'll bring it in at the bottom. Now what you don't want to do is you don't want to be going over this divot here, which you know is from the last video is called the philtrum. So that's enough of a shape. So again, all we've done is given ourselves a couple of angles and we just want to now add in two other shapes. So we want to add a sphere and we'll make that blue again. We won't bother with the yellow so much, which is going to be the fatty areas. And we'll bring that down in size like so. And this is going to be the two, we're going to have one each side, which is going to make the hole for the nares, for the nostrils. It's going to go underneath it, and it's also going to be the bulk of the cartilage, as you've already seen from the initial video. And they're the only shapes that you really need. Now this here, the main part of the nostril is actually in two parts, because remember it separates from the upper cartilage to the lower cartilage, but we can handle that with the sculpting tool. So if we just get some nostrils in and we just use the mirroring like so, and then we merge them in, you can actually just merge it, go straight, make sure it's all going into the body. So go back onto the major part of the cartilage, just use the move tool, make sure it does intersect with the body like so. And also we now don't, In fact, we didn't check it, but this front is far too pointed, so we can just trim that off like so. And that's given us two major parts to play with for the sculpting. So we'll take the two of them together. We'll just, in fact, no, might as well go all the way now, and we might as well just do the whole lot in one go. And we'll just do a voxel merge. In fact, I didn't do it then, didn't force paint it. All three of them. We'll use about 300 voxel merge. Should be all one, and then to do it properly, it would all be painted. Now, we've got everything we need now to start that. So the first thing I'm going to do is just smooth that down, and instantly you'll see that you could actually get away with that as your nose. It's not right, I know it's not right, but we've got the shapes now, we've got the underlying armature to work on. So we'll just use the move tool to give us our, the front bit we want is this return here. And then it has a plane that turns back like this. You can go and get yourself some reference for this, because it's very, very simple to once you've seen it once, you'll understand. Remember that the top of the top here of the cartilage meets the bottom end of, or the start of where the bone ends from the coming down from the skull. And then we've got to think about this underneath. So this here at the bottom is the septum. So if I just pull up here, that instantly creates the nostrils. You don't have to do anything other than that. And that gives you that return. And just think about this. If I use the crease tool, you don't need to do this, but I'm showing you. So you've got that line there is where the bone ends, and this is where the cartilage starts, remember? This is where the cartilage comes round here, and it goes under here and in here. And then here, this is the fatty area. This is the septum that I talked about, and this is your cartilage. But the big thing I'm trying to show you is it's not so much the hole or the cavity that matters, it's this shape here. This is a return that goes under, and it curls under inside there. Now what we can do is we can just mask off this area here. Let me show you. So we can just mask, we don't need outline now because that's really distracting us, isn't it? Turn outline off. So if I just mask inside there like that, and then do mask, hold it, and then tap it, that'll invert it. And then just use either the move tool or the move, just pull it up. And that will pull the nostrils inside, and then you must make sure they go back. Don't forget, the nostrils are a big cavity that leads to your back of your throat. So in reality, what you've got there, you've just got a dimple in the surface of your model, but it's actually going into the model. In reality, it should be going into the head. And that's a whole level of anatomical learning. If you wanted to learn what goes on in there, there's all sorts of things, because little hairs called cilia in there. There's quite a lot to learn if you wanted to do any kind of internal stuff. We'll just smooth those creases down because we don't need them. And then I'm going to use the move tool again. One thing to try and remember is that fat pushes up against other bits of fat and tissue. So what you don't get, so see how I've got this quite clean line round here going in. What you might want to do is, let me just keep pulling it. Again, don't forget to look for reference for nostrils, because there's going to be a lot of different shapes, but it's all constructed in the same way. Septum, cartilage, the fatty bit at the back, and the top part of the cartilage there. And don't forget as well, one thing I haven't mentioned is, or I quickly covered it, is there's also a lot of muscles that come in and attach at the sides here, but we're not really too worried because the nose has got very little in the way of muscles. You do have quite a few muscles that get up there and interact and pull your nostrils, etc. But it's not the biggest part of it. It's not like some parts of the body you have to learn the muscles first. The nose, it's much more about the cartilage. Can't even say it. So what I was saying is, if you've got this area here, what you might want to do, rather than using the brushes that we use commonly, you might want to use this, which is inflate. And I'll do it really low intensity and just inflate it up like that. And it might just give you the volume that you want, rather than trying to just pull everything into place. Now, the next brush I'm going to encourage you to use now is because you're looking for planes, you want the flatten tool. So low intensity, you want a plane along here, plane along here. You know where that one is because we've talked about it a lot, the top of the nose there where the bone meets. And definitely try and flatten some of these planes here. And if you smooth them down, they should look a bit more realistic now. Like so. And then again, at this point, I would say to you, be looking at reference quite a lot. Use, if you can, when you're learning this stuff, use a younger person's face, male or female, doesn't matter, whichever one you're learning. But try and use someone that hasn't got, try and use a very, very simplistic face who hasn't got years of, you haven't got creases and crags and damage and skin issues. That you can all learn and add later. What you should be looking at the moment is a very young, clean nose to help you learn how to sculpt this sort of stuff. And just remember, a good one to remember from drawing really, is that the septum must come down lower than the edges of the nostrils. If you've got this, let me just try and show you. If you've got this, it won't look right. You've got to make sure that from the sides, these nostrils, like so, look higher than basically the septum in the middle there. They should be high. You should be able to see the septum going down to the philtrum down here, and we'll just smooth that down. And again, go and have a look at reference if you're feeling now we're at the point. We're getting into some quite heavy detailing now, so reference is crucial really. And I'll just put this one little crease here. It goes down here. And we've got one at the corner of the mouth as well that we did have in, but we've lost it. And the older you are, the more pronounced that is. So very young faces won't have that much at all. So just again be thinking about the reference that you're using, what age it is, and we'll just add it in and then take it out like so. And that gives you pretty much the nose. So again, at this point, save your work. It doesn't take long to construct a nose once you know about the cartilage. I always find that once the cartilage is sorted, that gives you your planes. It gives you pretty much everything you want. I'm just tweaking my eyes a little bit. It's very hard not to noodle. I know that because I do it all the time. And I'm actually smoothing things that I shouldn't really be smoothing because we're working on the nose. But there you go with your overview of the nose. It'll give you enough to get going with it. It gives you the basic anatomy of the nose with the cartilage. So learn the cartilage. Google it now. You know what it is and what you're looking at. Make sure you're right with your scaling. Bear in mind that our scaling is right from the start because we've used that Loomis method, which is not the only method. And I had some feedback on the last YouTube that there's some research and some people have concluded that the Loomis method isn't the best. But for a beginner, I do find that it does get you going. It's a great way to learn it and to scale it this way. And then you can expand your learning as you grow as an artist and you get out of being a beginner, which is what these videos are really aimed at. So have a go at that so far, and then next week or next video, which might even be sooner than that, we're going to move on to have a look at the eyes. I hope you're enjoying these videos, and if you are, please give it a thumbs up as it does help us get in front of other people who may like this kind of content. If you're enjoying the video, then please subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, and we'll let you know when we upload new content every week.